A two-time Cy Young Award winner, a World Series champion, and a former MVP are among some notable names out there still in free agency. Blake Snell, Jordan Montgomery, and Cody Bellinger are looking for teams, as are four-time Gold Glover Matt Chapman and shutdown closer Josh Hader. You see four of those players all represented by Scott Boras. So we just at the point where in free agency, but still guys are going to make nine-figure contracts. It's the Boras effect moving into January and February?
I think there's a Boras factor. We know if you go back in history, Bryce Harper, Manny Machado, they ended up signing contracts in February one season. But this does seem especially sluggish. And there's also a part of me that says, as much as there's a Boras factor and there should be a domino effect, when the big guys sign, then the smaller guys follow, there's more than 150 free agents still out there looking for jobs. And the first game of spring training is 5 weeks away, and spring training is a little earlier than that. So it is surprising that things have moved at such a tepid pace.
I would tell you this, though. The guys that are kind of clogging up everything before the bottom 100 sign, they've all got question marks. Blake Snell has 2 Cy Young Awards. The seasons in between that, not earth-shattering. Cody Bellinger, had a great year. The Dodgers didn't even tender him. 2 years before that, he was awful. So, I mean, Jordan Montgomery was always a nice pitcher with the Yankees. Had a great postseason. So, I mean, Scott's going to aim for the sky because he's a great agent, but are you going to get the sky for those type of players? I mean, when you take Gerrit Cole out on the market, there's not a blemish. Gerrit Cole's great. He checks every box. Some of those guys don't check every box, so there's going to be a little bit of a halt on giving them exactly what they want.
I'm glad you brought that up. We were having a pre-show meeting in our office, and I said, Cole is a guy you just say, everybody, I want him. If we can afford him, we want him. All of these guys are, I like him, but there's something attached to him. For guys who are looking for $200 million plus, that's a big but.
That's why when the Yankees are pursuing Gerrit Cole and you say to yourself, well, 8 years becomes 9 and you can have him, and then there's an option that might get to take it to 10, you say, sure. But in terms of Snell, you're saying to yourself, as Michael said, you got the 2 Cy Youngs, but bracketed around seasons where his ERA was around 4. You know for his career, he's a guy who pitches 5 1/3 innings per start. That's not who someone like Gerrit Cole is. So in pursuing him, you have to know that what you're getting is someone who's not going to pitch real deep in games.
You know what? I used to, look at the NFL and the NBA and go, wow, I wish baseball was like that, where all the signings would be done in 2 days. And I kind of changed my mind on it. I think this is good for the game. If every single player signed at the beginning of the winter meetings, then baseball wouldn't be talked about that much during these months. Right now, we're waiting on Snell, we're waiting on Montgomery, we're waiting on Bellinger. That's good for the game. It keeps it in the conversation. So I think the GMs would like to build their team, but if you're an agent, the longer you wait, the more desperate a team becomes that needs pitching or needs a hitter, and they might give up more money than they want to. But I actually think this is good for baseball.
See, I see the opposite. You think that the teams get desperate. I think the player can get desperate too. John Flaherty has always said that as a guy who wanted to know, where's your family going to be? Where are your kids going to school? I'm sure there are a lot of players out there right now who, whether their agent is Scott Boras or someone else, is saying, what's going on? How come I don't have a deal yet?
But I think if you sign with Scott Boras, you know the game plan. So you've got to be prepared for this, and you have to know, okay, I'm going to have to get a house in spring training 2 days before I sign. The longer you wait, I think the better deal you're going to get.
Yeah, and part of the strategy, too, could be to wait till pitchers and catchers report. A week later, if you're Snell or Montgomery and a pitcher on a team goes down in a big way, suddenly there's a need that's just been created.
Right. Suddenly your offer may rise, and the way that these players train these days, Montgomery and Snell are already doing what they need to do to get ready for spring training. The thought is that Montgomery would like to return to Texas, and the Rangers are trying to figure out their finances and the television deal that they have looming. And Snell, we're still waiting to see where he might end up. But a very interesting offseason. But I'm also with Michael, the current Michael. I don't want to see a deadline. And by the way, the Players Association, the union, would never, ever agree to that everyone must be signed by a certain day.
And also in those other sports, there are caps. So if you don't take the money right away, there's not going to be room for you to sign. In baseball, there's really no cap. I mean, there's some speed bumps along the way with taxes, but a team could pay whatever they want at whatever time. They're not going to run out of money to spend. So you will never get that in baseball. So embrace what we have right now, that we're talking about it, and that we can make a living on the hot stove show.
Yeah, it would be the burned out stove if we did it all in a couple days, right? One quick point to your point.